Clarksville Youth Assistants. You are here for our cyber safety initiative. I got involved in youth assistance a few years ago, and I've lived in Clarkson for over 30 years. And it's probably about 5 years ago.
Sorry.
The first time I heard about it, and it's really a shame because people don't know about everything youth assistance does. We give able education, such as tonight. There's a homework club. We have scholarships limited for going to families that need help with skill building. We have a certified counselor that happens to be standing up right over there. This is provided to us by our sponsors, the County Circuit Court, Clarkson Community Schools, Pennis Township, Springfield Township, and the City of the Village of Clarkston. People who have heard of youth assistance sometimes think it's for the bad kids, and counseling is just for bad kids, and that is part of what we do. It's a diversionary program, or could be for people who do minor offenses as minors. They go through counseling, they jump through hoops, and hopefully they learn a lesson. But we also offer services for kids who maybe Billy lost his mom and needs someone to talk to. Maybe Billy's parents are divorced and needs someone to talk to. That is something we can provide. And we are trying to get the word out there that we're here and we're available. And it's a slow process, and if you can maybe help spread the word about youth assistance a little bit, that would be great. We also have a bowl run coming up. It is Sunday, March 20th at Jericho Lanes. If you're into bowling or have kids that like to bowl or just want to go out and piece of pizza or put some bumpers on the lanes and see what happens. There's flyers outside, and we'd love to have you. And I will end my spiel there. And this is Lloyd from the Michigan Attorney General's office, who will be conducting the presentation. Thank you.
Can you guys hear me okay? Because I know if I maybe hold the mic a little closer, can you hear better? Is that okay? Because when I turn that mic up, we get a little feedback, so I don't want to do that. So, okay, so again, my name is Lori Mabey, and I'm honored to be here tonight. Attorney General Bill Schuette takes seriously his responsibility to protect Michigan's most vulnerable citizens, and that's our children who are exposed to dangers on the internet every day. And that's why we created the Michigan CSI program in 2007. Basically, we offer free internet safety programs to all students in kindergarten through 12th grade, public schools, private schools, it doesn't matter. And we also have this community seminar that we're doing, here tonight for adults. Now, my presentation is typically about an hour long, so I'll do my best to kind of keep things moving. But feel free to ask questions throughout the presentation. You don't need to, wait to the end or whatever. I'll try and kind of stop because when I get on a roll, sometimes I really get going. So, just raise your hand if you have a question about something that we're talking about. But before I get started, the Attorney General has a little message that he would like you to hear.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Schuette, Michigan's Attorney General. Welcome to the Michigan Cyber Safety Initiative, or Michigan CSI, this community seminar. Thanks for giving my team and giving me the opportunity to share helpful tips to keep your family safe. My wife, Cynthia, and I are the parents of 2 children, and we understand that everyone wants to be connected, and we recognize that today's children are part of this digital generation, and they've grown up with computers and smartphones and tablets and all sorts of devices. And while the web offers countless advantages, dangerous or explicit materials are only a click away. If you click on a bad link on a website, it's like taking a wrong turn in a bad part of town. Predators lurk everywhere on the internet. And that's why it's important, so important, to make sure we know what our children are doing online. This community seminar covers the online dangers that most frequently threaten today's students, and it'll provide you with practical tools and safety tips. You'll also hear about the topics we covered in Michigan CSI student presentations and how we've encouraged your student to talk with you about anything, and I mean anything, that makes them uncomfortable. My team will also provide you with information about the OK to Say program, which is Michigan's brand new school safety initiative. and what okay means for students so that we can report any behavior that threatens their safety or the safety of others. I'm confident you'll find this community seminar information useful, and I'd encourage you to go to my website at michigan.gov/ag for more resources. Thank you for joining me in the fight to keep Michigan's families safe. These programs, just let me say, are all about safety, they're all about security, and they're all about our children. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so you probably have a lot of handouts in front of you. Now, the only one that is important that we receive back is the community seminar feedback form, and I believe it's actually 2 pages because, youth assistance also has a survey portion of it as well. So if you'd be willing to fill that out and return it to us, it would be very helpful at the end. Now, you do have a lot of other handouts there as well. Some of those I will refer to during the presentation. If I don't refer to something, please feel free to ask if you have a question about it. But all of our handouts are available online at our website. Now, the subjects that I'm going to talk about today is the student presentations. I'll talk briefly about, what we talk to kindergarten through 12th grade students about. I also will talk about children's online activities, what they're going, where they're going, what they're doing, that type of information. We're also going to talk about some challenging situations like cyberbullying and sexting and suicide. And we also are going to talk about concrete tools for you as adults to help keep your children safe. And we're also going to talk about, unfortunately, the Michigan internet predator threat, which is a clear and present danger here in the state of Michigan. And the last thing we're going to talk about is the OK to Say program, which is a confidential safety tip line where students can report anything that threatens their safety or the safety of others. We start talking to students about it in 4th grade. At that point, though, we really ask them to always talk to a trusted adult first. All right, and then get together with that trusted adult and contact OK to Say if they can't get the help that they need. And I'll explain that a lot more in detail. But as the students get older, starting in 6th grade, then it starts to be a little bit more serious. Now, we have found, though, that the key component to keeping your children safe is open and honest communication. So we want to make sure that, number one, when you are talking to your children or they come to you about something that happened on the internet, we kind of want to make sure you kind of step back and take that minute and try not to, overreact. We're all human. I have 2 teenagers. I get it. But we want to make sure that you keep those lines of communication open. We want to make sure that your kids continue to come back to you if something does happen the next time. All right? So kind of keep that in mind. But next, I really want to talk about all the student presentations, and I'll do that, pretty briefly. Now, basically, with kindergarten through 5th grade, elementary, we tell them that, number one, they need to ask a trusted adult before they go on the internet. 4th and 5th graders, we pretty much tell them, you know what? You need to know what the rules are in your house about where you can and you can't go. Is it okay that you go on YouTube? Is it okay that you play certain video games? Is it okay that you have social media like Instagram and Snapchat and Twitter and things like that? Now, once they have permission, though, to be on the internet, and actually what we even do with kindergarten through 3rd grade is we go through a whole list of trusted adults so they know exactly who we're talking about. It could be a teacher, it could be a parent, it could be grandma, grandpa, things like that, so they know who to ask. Then once they have permission to be on the internet, we want to make sure, number one, they go to safe places that a trusted adult says are okay, and then they need to follow our 3 keeps of internet safety while they're on the internet. Our first keep is I keep safe. My personal information, all of it. This is their name, their age, their address, their phone number, their passwords, their plans, and the name of their school should all be kept safe. Now, with the younger students, kindergarten, 1st grade, we kind of narrow that list down a little bit more so they're not confused. Now, our second keep is I keep away from internet strangers, which means you shouldn't be talking to anyone online that you don't already know in person. And we will even say to the younger students, down to like kindergarten through 3rd grade, I'll say to them, would it be okay to talk to your cousin on the internet? Yes, I know my cousin. Would it be okay to talk to a friend from school? Yes, because you already know that person, just so they understand what we mean by that. And our 3rd keep is I keep telling a parent or a trusted adult about anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. And we even explain what we mean by feeling uncomfortable. Your stomach might feel a little bit funny. You might feel that something just isn't right. You might even feel a little bit scared. And if you feel that way, you walk away and you talk to a parent or trusted adult. Now, kindergarten, first grade, we do talk about asking a trusted adult, following those 3 keeps, but we do show a couple videos. It is about 20 to 25 minutes long, and the first video that they see is about Jeremiah, and Jeremiah goes on the internet, so we want to make sure that he follows all the rules, and fortunately he does. They make sure that he follows the rules. And then the second video that they see is actually about Big Bird, and Big Bird wants to be part of the Good Bird Club, but what he finds out is that not everyone in the Big Bird or Good Bird Club is really all that nice. So he teaches them how to handle a bully. And it's really important, even in kindergarten, trust me, they already know what a bully is. Sorry about that. Second and third grade, it's still 2 videos as well. It's still about 20 to 25 minutes long. We do show brain pop videos. So the first one, they see Annie and Moby are going on the internet, so they make sure that they're safe while they're on the internet. The second one actually teaches them how to handle a bully, how to handle a cyberbully, and it also teaches them how not to be a bully themselves. Fourth and fifth grade presentation is a lot more serious. It's about 40 minutes long. Here we do talk about the internet predator threat. We talk about all forms of bullying, and we also talk about the OK to Say program. 6th through 8th grade is much more serious. Here we do talk about the internet predator threat. We talk about their digital footprint. We talk about all forms of bullying. We also talk about suicide and sexting. Now, to help our 6th through 8th grade students understand that everything that they share online, whether they text it, tweet it, post it, share it through an app, no matter what device they're using, whether it's an iPad, a laptop, a computer, their cell phone, is permanently saved in their public digital footprint. Our kids aren't just surfing the web anymore, they're creating public content. And we want to make sure that they realize that everything that they do online has short-term as well as long-term consequences. Now, we also want to make sure, number one, that they know how to keep their information safe and how to protect their digital footprint, but we also want to make sure that they realize who's watching their digital footprint and what they're doing with that information. So who is watching? Well, we have parents and teachers and coaches. I can tell you for a fact, I could tell you many stories about coaches actually watching kids' digital footprints. But at my son's high school, this past homecoming, we had a couple students, couple football players that, posted a couple inappropriate tweets on Twitter about the upcoming homecoming game. And, of course, the coach saw them, saw those tweets, and they were benched for the homecoming game. And guess who didn't win? We didn't, because, we had 2 of our best players were benched for our homecoming game. Kids, they don't realize that even if, well, he's not my friend, he doesn't follow me, he can't see it. Well, but other people can share that information. And that's what they have to realize. But who else is watching? We have employers and law enforcement officers and college admission officers. I have many stories about students losing scholarships. Actually, at my daughter's school, when she graduated a couple years ago, she actually had a student that had received a 4-year soccer scholarship from a college here in the state of Michigan. And a couple months after she had received that letter, that she received that scholarship, she got another letter in the mail. And they told her, you know what? You are not the type of person that deserves our scholarship. And they took it away. And they put exactly in the letter why they took it away. And she had posted some very inappropriate comments about her family, a lot of them. And they took her scholarship away. And guess what? She didn't get one anywhere else. She lost her dream. And I have students actually in Birmingham who lost a golf scholarship. I could go through a whole list of students that have lost scholarships because of this. And I even know people that have lost jobs because of pictures that someone tagged them in Facebook. So, we all need to think about our digital footprint. But who else is watching? Internet predators. They go where our kids go. The prime target for an internet predator, whether you're a boy or girl, is between the ages of 13 and 15. And the 2 ways that predators contact our kids is social media and online video games. Now, I do talk to the students about, not sharing their personal information, but unfortunately, we also have to talk to our students about not sharing inappropriate pictures. So I do talk to the 6th through 12th grade students about sexting. And sexting is actually the act of sending, receiving, forwarding, or possessing sexually explicit pictures, videos, or messages. And here in the state of Michigan, it's actually a felony. It's punishable by up to 20 years in prison. And what makes it a felony is if that picture is of someone under the age of 18, it's actually considered child pornography. So it doesn't matter, and this is what kids need to understand, and parents, it doesn't matter if that student took a picture of themselves or somebody else took a picture of them. If that picture is of someone under the age of 18, it's a felony. Just possessing a sexting picture or a nude on your phone is 4 years. If they share it with one person, it's 7. And if they solicit it, which means they send it to a whole bunch of people, it's up to 20. And if they coerce someone and say, hey, send me a new picture, whatever, it's up to 20 years. Now, we have a student in Romeo High School that actually was just charged, I don't know if he got 1 or 2 years, but he was also drug trafficking. But he had coerced several students to share inappropriate pictures. So he's doing a little time right now. We have a couple students in Warren that are on probation for actually sharing nude pictures of their ex-girlfriends on the internet without their consent. So they're on probation. They can't use the internet for a year, only for work. And if they're caught using it, they go back to prison. And we've actually, unfortunately, had a student in Oakland County that we put on the sex offender registry for sexting. So, and those are just a few of the stories. But just to let you know, we're taking it seriously, and we want the kids to realize that. It's damaging lives. It's hurting kids, because number one, that's out there forever. We want them to think about that. Now, the next video that I'm going to show you, we do show to the 6th through 8th grade students, and it just kind of gives them an idea of how quickly an inappropriate picture can go viral in their school and how easy it can, land in somebody else's hands.
Man, you a pimp.
Yo, you
Man, pull that full screen. Look at that, boys. Check that out, boys. I had to send this to Mark.
Send that out now.
So if you didn't catch that last part, that was actually a predator. And a lot of times that's exactly what happens with a lot of those, nudes and inappropriate pictures and that type of thing. They do end up in the wrong hands, besides the fact that they end up in a student's hands and things like that. So we want to make sure that students think before they send photos and text messages, and that they know what the consequences are. We want to make sure, number one, that they're protecting their reputation because they're the ones on the internet every day. But what we also want to make sure that they understand is that 9 out of 10 times when a sexually explicit or nude picture is shared, that's going to be shared with someone else. It's not just that receiver that's going to see that picture. It might be two days from now or 10 years from now, but somebody else is going to see that picture 9 out of 10 times. And what we've also found is a lot of times kids think that maybe a safe way to share an inappropriate picture might be through the Snapchat app. Because the whole beauty of that app is that someone sees that picture, that video for 10 seconds, and then it's gone. Well, guess what? That's not really the case. Number one, I know that you can be notified if someone takes a screenshot. I get that. But what I want to make sure that the students understand is that whenever you share a picture through the Snapchat app, it is permanently saved on your phone. Even if you physically delete it, it is buried. It's permanently stored on your phone. It would take one of my agents about 2 hours to get that information off of their phone if they needed to get it. And I want to make sure they understand that. And bottom line, Snapchat actually owns your pictures. All of your pictures are on their server. They claim they're not going to do anything with it, but they own those pictures. That's the truth. And Snapchat was actually fined last year. It's like $1 million or something because they don't live up to their promises. Those pictures are not gone in 10 seconds. And the thing is that we want the kids to understand, and also that you understand, is it doesn't matter if it's Snapchat or some other app. It is all part of public digital footprinting, all right? Those pictures are there forever, even if you don't see them anymore. Now, the 9th through 12th grade presentation, typically here we talk primarily about the OK to Say program. There are a couple other areas as well, like unfortunately we have to talk about hazing and dating violence and that type of thing as well. But that pretty much covers the presentations that we offer to the students. Now, all of our videos, you can actually go to our website and see the videos that we show at every grade level to the students. You are not able to see our presentations because they are copyrighted, like as far as the student presentations. That is something like you can see the videos, but if you want to see a presentation, we'd have to actually go to a school or something and see the presentation. Does anybody have questions about any of the presentations or anything I've talked about so far? Okay, good. All right, now I kind of want to change gears a little bit here, and we're going to really talk more about our children. And, technology is important to all of us, and it's really important to teens and tweens. And what we've actually found is that teenagers between the ages of 13 and 18 actually use an average of 9 hours of media every single day. And that doesn't even include the time that they're spending doing homework. And tweens between the ages of 8 and 12 actually spend an average of 6 hours on media, and that doesn't include their homework. So that's why it's really important that we educate our kids about responsible internet behavior. Now, let's talk about some other statistics, and this is really more 12 to 18-year-olds. 95% use the internet, 89% use social media, and 78%, use cell phones. I don't think that's that uncommon. And 97% play computer, web, console, whatever video games. Now, we want to make sure that we point that out because as I talked about before, online video games is one way the internet predators talk to our kids. Now, even talking to 2nd and 3rd grade students, I still have a lot of students that play video games where they're chatting with other people. Now, if you have students in 2nd and 3rd grade, that are playing video games, we always say to the kids, have mom and dad set your game up for you so that you only play with people that you know. If you don't know how to do that, on our online resources page on the back, it actually has all these links that you can click on for, PlayStation, whatever, to actually walk you through how to do that, because it's very important. Now, when I'm talking to 4th and 5th grade, though, I will say to them, how many of you guys play online video games where you're chatting with a friend? Maybe you're in that headset, Bluetooth, Turtle Beach, whatever, and a lot of hands go up. And then I'll ask them, how many of you play online video games with someone that you don't know? And a lot of those hands are still up. Because, and we know that, because they might join a team and not know everybody on their team or whatever. It happens all the time. But what we want to make sure that you guys do realize and that they realize is that just because they're playing an online video game with someone does not mean that they're their friend. It doesn't matter if they've been playing games for 2 days or 2 years. They are not their friend. And we want to make sure that they realize that if someone they're playing games with that they don't know, ask them to chat privately, or maybe they want to share a picture of themselves, they are trying to gain their trust, all right? They're trying to break down barriers so that your child will actually eventually leave their house and meet up with them. It happens every day, every day. So we want to make sure that we realize that. Now, 77% of sexual solicitations are actually made chatting online. Our kids are not in chat rooms. Our kids are in social media and online video games. You can chat anywhere anymore. You can chat when you're playing Words with Friends. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention because 69% of teens have received messages from people they don't know, but the majority of those teens don't tell anybody about it. And that's why we want to keep those lines of communication open. All right. Before I started with the Attorney General's office 7 years ago, I wasn't asking a lot of questions. I wasn't, everybody thinks we have it under control and whatever. But when I started asking questions, I got answers that really surprised me. And then I realized, what worked though is once they started asking questions, then they started asking me more questions. And as we went along, then, we had a much better line of communication. And that's what you want to make sure that you have. All right. Now, we also want to make sure that you do educate yourself about the dangers in your state and in your area. Now, does anyone currently check the sex offender registry? Does anybody do that now? Okay, so I have a couple of you. Okay. Okay. So, basically we want to make sure that you know that this is available to you. We don't want you to hunt people down, but we want you to be aware of your surroundings. Because, a lot of times somebody might live 2 houses down and you don't even know about it. If your kids are trick-or-treating or they're playing in a park or they're riding their bike or walking to a friend's house, you need to be aware of who lives around you. Now, you can actually check the website. That is the website up there. It's also on the online resources page as well. So you can, you can click on that as well. Now, you can actually receive email updates. So you don't have to go in and check it all the time. If you set it up so that it looks by zip code for you, it will actually send you an email every time someone moves into your zip code. Now, my daughter goes to school, to college in a different state, and I actually have this set up, and I am absolutely stunned at the amount of, predators that live around these colleges. And, I get updates. I probably get 4 or 5 a month. Yeah. So, very scary. So, just something to keep in mind. Now, the next video, though, that I'm going to show you, we do show to 4th and 5th grade students. And this video is about Special Agent Mike Ondanko, who works in the criminal division for the Attorney General's office. And his job is to pretend to be a 13 to 15-year-old student. And he chats with and arrests internet predators. Now, he's responsible for hundreds of arrests here in the state of Michigan. And he's an expert at knowing the tricks that predators use to make us think that they're our friends. So he has some really good information to share. Get it to launch. Oh, uh-oh, hold on.
Internet predators use distinct techniques to try to trick you and gain your trust. We know about these techniques and tricks because we chat online with the predators, and we've confiscated their computers and examined how they chat with victims. The predators will try to appear familiar to you. They will be really friendly, asking you about your hobbies and other interests. Internet predators ask lots of questions and respond in such a way to fool you into thinking they care about you. They try to make you feel good about yourself, complimenting you and maybe even sending gifts. They often will agree with your opinions. What you like or dislike, they do too. They will say they understand how you feel. Predators will challenge your parents' authority by telling you that they are too strict, or say something like, "I would never treat you like that." Or they just don't want you to be who you are. They just don't understand. Predators also typically try to develop your trust. They may say something like, "You can tell me anything, and I won't tell another living soul." In fact, we've had a predator say, "I know you would never get me into trouble, and I trust you with my heart." Predators ask personal questions and try to get you to establish a secret relationship. They will ask you to describe yourself, talk about ex-relationships, and want you to reveal secrets. Predators will exploit any parent-child conflict and encourage the child's feelings that the parent is wrong. Another thing predators typically do is try to erode barriers. They will ask you lots of questions to see what your morals are and try to exploit them. They want to talk on the phone with you, exchange photos, or use a webcam. They may send and want to receive inappropriate pictures. Finally, predators want to set up a face-to-face meeting. If students have been communicating with someone who is using these tricks, they need to remember that it's never too late to get help. The students may have already seen or done things online that they are ashamed of. Don't be bullied, and don't let somebody you already communicated with trap you. It is better to tell parents or a trusted adult about the situation now before something bad happens to the student or to someone else the predator is talking to online. Online predator contact can be reported to the Attorney General online or by phone. When the predators we communicate with online show up to meet the student they thought they were talking with, we arrest them. We talk to them to find out how many other students they have hurt or have tried to hurt, and unfortunately it's usually a lot. Our experience teaches us that students need to remember 2 important things. 1, never talk to an adult online unless a parent or a trusted adult know about it. Even if that person is someone you know, like a coach, a priest, or a minister, a teacher, or even a friend's parent. 2, if someone says or does something online that makes you feel uncomfortable, get off the computer and tell a parent or trusted adult right away. Don't be afraid to tell them about it. They would rather know than have you be hurt.
Okay, so we really just want to make sure, number one, that you're being involved. You know, that you're paying attention to the predators in your area and that you're asking good questions and keeping those lines of communication open. And if you're allowing your kids to be on social media, then it's really important that you at least know the basics, okay? That's why we've included, there's pages there about Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook resources. But you know, another really good source of information, and I even share this with the kids, because a lot of times I'll ask them, you know, I ask them how many of them have an Instagram account when I'm talking to 4th and 5th graders, and there's quite a few. But a lot of them don't really know how to block a bully when they're on Instagram and things like that. So what you want to make sure that you know is the basics on things like that. You can go into Google or Bing or any search engine and type it in, and all you have to do is say, how do I block a bully on Instagram? It will take you right to the link. All right? There's lots of, different ways to do that. So that's something that we want you to know as well. And, make sure that you're paying attention to their, privacy settings and things like that. Now, when my daughter went to college, she, moved to a different state, so she didn't go to, school with anybody that she knew. So when she, needed a roommate, she had all these girls that applied to be her roommate or whatever. And, we thought, okay, great, we have this piece of paper that tells us information about these girls, but guess what? We're going to go to social media. And guess what? Not one of those girls was using privacy settings. I could see everything they posted on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Uvu, Vine, whatever I wanted to see. And it was great because we picked out a really good roommate. But, I tell the kids, like, if you don't care that I can see your information, then you need to care that predators can see your information. All right? If it's open, if it's not, friends only or whatever, guess what? Everybody's going to see it. So you got to make sure we're paying attention to that. The other thing is, too, we want to make sure we kind of pay attention to who their followers are and who they're following on Twitter and Instagram, and then who their friends are on Facebook. All right? Now, another thing that we find, even as parents sometimes, that we don't realize, that we're doing is we share information when we are taking pictures on our cell phone and, on certain cameras. Is anybody familiar with what geotagging is? Is anybody familiar? Okay, so some of you guys do. Okay. Okay. So basically, geotagging is information that's actually stored on your pictures and, that type of thing. What you have to pay attention to is when you are taking a picture, especially with your cell phone or certain cameras, you want to make sure that your location services is off. If your location services is on, when you take a picture and you decide to upload that picture to Instagram or Facebook or whatever, it's going to show 2 little boxes of information about that picture. It's called metadata. And in that metadata, let's say maybe the picture you posted was of you and your daughter at your house. It's actually going to show the GPS coordinates of where that picture was taken. You can type that into Google Maps, and it will actually give them the address of where that picture was taken. Now, that may not matter to you all that much, but we know that predators are using this to find information out about us and our children. So we want to make sure that we're paying attention to that. All right? So I suggest, what I do on my phone is I turn my location services off. Even I don't know if you guys heard on the news yesterday, they were talking about, I think on Channel 7, about your Fitbit and things like that can track you. Your Fitbit cannot track you unless you have GPS on it or you have it connected to your phone and your location services is on, then yes, it's going to know where you're at. Okay, so that's a key a lot of times, is to turn that location services off. All right? So very, very important. And we remind the students starting in middle school and junior high to make sure that they realize that, because they don't realize it either. So it's important. And like I said before, 65% of sexual offenders get information. Most of the information that they get about our kids, their likes, their dislikes, who their friends are, where they go to school, that information is primarily from social media. And I even have students sometimes that share, there for a while we had kids that were posting the picture of their driver's license when they got it when they turned 16. Hello? How much information they just shared? It was frightening. So, and their phone number and things like that. Just, got to be paying attention to what our kids are sharing. The other thing we want to make sure that we talk about is actually terms of service. And the terms of service is sort of like that really long agreement that we agree to when we, download an app or something like that. Now, I know we're not going to all read that. We can't read every single word. But just an example of why we should kind of pay attention is with Instagram it's probably been about 1.5 years ago now. Instagram had decided that they were going to change their terms of service. And what they were going to do is actually sell your pictures to a third party without your consent. And they were going to try and pull it off and actually make it so that, like, if you logged on to Instagram, they would give you a little note and said, hey, you know what, our terms of service changed. I need you to look at them. And you know what? Most of us would have said, yep, whatever, and have just agreed to it, right? And they would have been selling our information. If the Federal Trade Commission and the Attorney General at a federal level had not gotten wind of this, that's exactly what they would be doing right now. It took them like a year to negotiate with Instagram to make sure that that did not happen. It's actually a $10 billion marketing industry to sell your information. So what I suggest is that if your child, or if you want to download an app or something, especially if it's a new app, always look at the reviews. If you're on iTunes or whatever, look at the reviews on iTunes or whatever, or look at on Google Play. Just see if there's any issues, or even Google it, or go to any search engine and just Google that app and just see what comes up. All right, you'll be surprised at what you find sometimes, about certain apps. Now we do have some apps, yeah. That's exactly where I'm going right now. That this page is really funny because that's exactly what I'm talking about. Yes. There are certain apps that are siphoning or stealing our information. There was actually a app that was being downloaded on the Android phones. They actually installed a Trojan on the phone. And what it was doing was actually stealing your personal information, and they were selling it to Russia and China. Now, with some of the flashlight apps on the iPhone, what I recommend that you look for is, if you have on your iPhone, if you can swipe, how you just swipe your phone up and you can access your flashlight app that way, it's part of your operating system. You're fine. But if it's an app that's like a little box and you click on it, you need to look in your settings and look at that app. And if it's asking you to turn your cellular data on, that means that it's trying to take your information, or it already has. Okay? So there's so many of them out there that we can't even keep track. But like I said, you should Google it or look at the reviews, on iTunes or Google Play or whatever, and just make sure, because they are, like I said, it's a $10 billion marketing industry to sell your information. All right? Now, like I said before, keeping those lines of communication open is really, really important. Now, there's a couple pages that you have, a couple handouts that's, a discussion, question, and then like an action plan part of it. We don't expect you guys to take that list and interrogate your children, in the car or something, on the way to school. But it just gives you some ideas of some of the questions that you can ask your kids. Maybe just one, at dinner time or something like that. You might be really surprised at the answers that you get. Because I know a few years back when I started doing this, I asked my daughter, and I said, well, Katie, you have an email address, right? And she goes, oh, yeah, I have like 7. I'm like, what? Why do you have 7 email addresses? And she was using some of them as like dummy emails, like if she, did something online, and then it would go like all of her trash or junk would go there or whatever. I'm like, okay, but I didn't know until I asked. So you might be surprised at what the answers that you get. So it's kind of a good idea. And definitely have an action plan in place. Make sure that it's really just paying attention to what your kids are doing. If they're playing games, make sure that you walk in the room, or they're playing in an area where you can hear what they're saying, and, that type of thing. Now, we also do have, what we're finding is that 80% of the time, students between the ages of 12 and 18 say they don't have any rules about where they can and they can't go. Whether they think that they can get around those rules, I have to tell you, because when I see 6th or 8th graders, it's usually about 300-400 kids at a time, and trust me, they don't think they have any rules. And maybe they think they can just get around them, like I said. But when we find that a lot less things happen on the internet when there are rules. And I don't mean like, make it so strict they can't do anything, but, just, they can't be on their cell phone at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, or, just things like that. Just the basics really seems to make a difference. Now, we also do have an online safety contract. We used to have this go home to all the students that saw our presentation. And, honestly, I thought it was a bit much for a kindergartner to bring this home. So we actually created parent discussion questions that actually go home with the students, so that when that sheet of paper goes home with the parents, they can ask questions. They can ask that student, about what they learned, and they'll have the answers to it. So it kind of helps the parents know too, what they learned today, instead of just trying to figure it out and putting rules in place or whatever. 6th through 8th grade still does get the online safety contract, but it's just a really nice tool when that comes home. And typically when I'm talking to parents that their kids just saw the presentations. So that's a nice, reminder about having a conversation with your kids. All right. Now, unfortunately, technology has really made cyberbullying, I guess, computers a huge tool for cyberbullying. I guess it's kind of hard to explain. But, kids today, they actually say, based on the National Crime Prevention information that we received, we have probably over half of American teens are affected by cyberbullying every single day. And, unfortunately, cyberbullying is a lot more hurtful, than being bullied face-to-face or in the hallway or whatever. Kids, when they don't see your face, they say a lot of things behind your back, or online, a lot more than what they would say face-to-face. So, we're finding that as parents and, as students and children, sometimes it's really hard to understand how to handle cyberbullying. And the next video that I'm going to show you is from Common Sense Media, and it just gives you guys some really good tools and, ideas of how to talk to your kids about cyberbullying.
Hi, I'm Jim Steyer, the father of 4 kids and the founder of Common Sense Media. And I can assure you that the former job is a lot tougher than the latter. Now, one of the many things that we do here at Common Sense is to provide information to help parents navigate the crazy digital world that is so much a part of our kids' lives today. And one of the biggest issues out there right now is cyberbullying. My wife and I know very well that as parents, it can be really difficult to know what to do if you suspect that your own child is involved in some sort of cyberbullying. So here, straight from the mouths of some of our Common Sense Media parents, are our top 5 tips on how to deal with cyberbullying.
As parents, we have to help our kids realize they can play a role in stopping cyber cruelty. Here are 5 tips to help you prevent, protect, and deal with cyberbullying.
First, teach your kids empathy. Nothing drives home a point faster than walking a mile in someone else's shoes. If your kids truly understand what someone else is going through, they're less likely to bully others or stand by and watch as others get bullied.
Second, help your kids understand the line between funny and cruel. Kids often don't think before they post, text, or email. What is intended as a joke could end up hurting someone else. If drama starts brewing, ask your kid to talk to their friend to clear it up.
Third, make sure they talk to someone, even if it's not you. Of course we want our kids to talk to us first, but if that's not an option, encourage your kids to find a responsible adult they can confide in. That could be their school counselor, their music teacher, or even a friend's parent.
Fourth, help your kid be an upstander, not a bystander. Kids are often hesitant to get involved, lest the bully turn their sights on them. But there are other ways your kids can help. They can reach out to the victim or get an adult involved.
Finally, show your kid how to stop it. Tell them not to respond or retaliate to cyberbullying. Not feeding the bully can stop the cycle. And if anything does happen, it's always a good idea to save the evidence.
There's no escaping the fact that, like adults, kids are spending most of their waking hours online and on their phones.
That's why it becomes even more important for us as parents to teach them how to responsibly and respectfully communicate using these tools.
Following these simple steps will make a difference in your kids' lives and the lives of others. For more advice and tips, visit us at commonsense.org.
Now, one tool that we've actually found that is really making a difference when it comes to cyberbullying is an app called Rethink. And we talked to 4th through 8th grade students about this new app just because, it's been extremely successful. Rethink was actually created by an 8th grader by the name of Trisha Prabhu. And she decided that, if her friends maybe had that second chance to think about what they said, that maybe, things would be different. And actually, it works. Basically, we have found that over 93% of the time, when kids have that second chance to think about what they said and maybe change what they said, they will. And it's making a huge impact. Now, with the Rethink app, what it will do is it looks for certain phrases and words, whether it's a text, an email, or it's in social media. Now, you do have to put it, like I have it on my iPad, so you have to put it on each device, all right? But we'll actually, kind of a little message will come up on the screen and kind of give your child or you, that second opportunity to maybe think about what you said. It'll even come up again if it's still offensive. All right, so it's going to keep coming up and, give them that opportunity. And like I said, we found that it actually really works. Now, it's a free app. We don't, suggest that the students, download the app or anything without your permission and things like that. But it is a free app that's available on the iPhone as well as the Android phone. And I have to tell you, it really works. So it's something to think about. So, typically in a presentation, I would tell the students to always ask you first, though. All right, so don't be concerned that we're telling them to just do it. Now, when it comes to cyberbullying, though, 29% of students who are cyberbullied don't do anything about it at all. They don't talk to an adult, they don't talk to a friend, they don't talk to anyone. And that is the 29% that we have to worry about. Now, 81% of students, though, that bully or cyberbully think they're funny. And usually, I could be in a group of, 50, 60 kids or maybe more. I can usually pick them out because they think it's really funny when I'm talking about it. But 30% of students want, revenge. When someone's being mean to them, they want revenge, and that's exactly what we don't want to happen. Now, some of the warning signs, though, that we can look for to see, if our child is being bullied or cyberbullied, they stop using their devices. All right, this could mean a lot of things, but we want to make sure that that red flag comes up and you're paying attention. They might be nervous or jumpy. They might be angry or depressed or frustrated. I know with my son, when he was younger and he was playing video games, a lot of times he would get really frustrated because, some kids were better at it than he was and stuff like that. So you kind of just, had to be paying attention. Like, I really thought it was more school, and then I realized it was really the games he was playing. So, he needed to play games with people his level or something like that, and just be paying attention. A lot of times they might not want to come down to dinner. They might feel withdrawn. They avoid discussions. And, they might be unusually secretive. So there's lots of things to kind of look out for. If you think something's going on, definitely talk to your kids. But what can we do when we think that our child is bullied or cyberbullied? Well, number one, we should definitely notify the school. Now, typically, our kids spend a lot of time at school, so that might be where bullying or cyberbullying initiated, but not always. But we have to make sure that we're paying attention, too, to what our kids are doing at home. It's not always what's being done at school. So if they're at home, on Instagram or Twitter, cyberbullying somebody, we also have to take responsibility for that. We have to pay attention and see what they're doing on our time as well. All right? But we want to make sure, too, though, that you let social media know. If your child is being constantly bullied or whatever on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever, make sure that they know about it. Because if they don't, there's not anything they can do about it. Facebook has actually taken some steps to make sure that fake profiles and things like that are not going to be created. They're actually going to make it so that you have to use your given name. Now, there's certain situations where if someone, can't use their real name for security purposes or whatever, but they're going to make you prove what your name is what they're trying to do, because there's so many kids out there creating fake profiles, and it's just a huge way to cyberbully. So they're trying to kind of put a stop to that. All right? And Facebook actually owns Instagram, so I don't know if they're going to follow suit on something like that as well. And I don't know how they're going to pull this off. We'll see. But that's what they say they're going to do. But this is actually, you can access this list. It's actually on, I believe it's a cyberbullying page that you have a handout. It's on the back, number 6. And if you access that at our website, you can just click on it. It will take you right to this link. And it will show, it updates all the time. And it's going to show you, how you can contact UVU or AskFM or, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and let them know if your child is being bullied. All right? Now, the next video that I'm going to show you was created by the Attorney General's office, and we show this video to students in 6th through 12th grade just to give them an idea of, how devastating bullying can be, and that it is a contributing factor to teen suicide. Actually, here in the state of Michigan, 1 in 6 students will actually consider suicide, and 1 in 11 will actually attempt it more than once. And it is the 3rd leading cause of death in our state for students between the ages of 10 and 19. Okay, it's tragic. It's 3rd behind accidents and illness. All right, so I'm going to show you this next video.
crowded hallways are the loneliest places for outcasts and rebels, or anyone who just dares to be different. And you've been trying for so long to find out where your place is, but in their narrow minds there's no room for anyone who dares to do something different. Oh, but listen for a minute. Trust the one who's been where you are, wishing all it was sticks and stones. Those words cut deep, but they don't mean you're all alone. And you're not invisible. Hear me out. There's so much more to life than what you're feeling now. Someday you'll look back on all these days, and all this pain is gonna be invisible. All invisible. So your confidence is quiet. To them quiet looks like weakness, but you don't have to fight it, 'cause you're strong enough to win without a war. Every heart has a rhythm. Let yours beat out so loudly that everyone can hear it. Yeah, I promise you don't need to hide it anymore. Oh, and never be afraid of doing something different. It dare to be something more. Just the one who's been where you are, wishing all it was sticks and stones. Yeah, the words cut deep, but they don't mean you're all alone. And you're not invisible. Hear me out. There's so much more to this life than what you're feeling now. And someday you'll look back on all these days, and all this pain is gonna be invisible. These labels that they give you are just 'cause they don't understand. If you look past this moment, you'll see you've got a friend waving a flag for who you are and all you're gonna do. Yeah, so here's to you, and here's to anyone who's ever felt invisible. And you're not invisible. Hear me out. There's so much more to life than what you're feeling now. Yeah, someday you'll look back on all these days, and all this pain is gonna be invisible. It'll be invisible.
After this video, we tell the students, you know, suicide is never the answer. If you're feeling down because someone's pushing you around or making you feel bad, reach out and get help from someone that you trust. There are lots of people out there who love you just the way you are. Now, we want to make sure that they understand, too, that a lot of times when they're feeling anxious or depressed or sad, those are temporary feelings. So we want to make sure that they realize that. Now, I want to read one of our famous quotes from Martin Luther King Jr., that our lives begin to end, the day that we become silent about things that matter. You know, our students are actually uniquely positioned in schools to make a difference. You know, by paying attention and telling someone when they see threatening or suspicious behavior can actually save a life. And we actually challenge our middle school and high school students to actually take a public stand when they see that something isn't right. But you know, there's times they can't do that. All right, they might be afraid they're going to be the next target of a bully. They don't want to be a snitch. They don't want to be a tattletale. So that's why they have okay to say. And, you know, every student deserves to go to a safe school. But unfortunately, we don't all go to a safe school. It doesn't matter where we live. Kids are bringing weapons to school. You know, there's bullying, there's cyberbullying, there's threats of suicide. It's, you know, there's a lot going on. So we want to make sure that our kids have a way to talk to someone if they can't take a public stand. And that's exactly what okay to say is. Now, okay to say, basically they can call, they can text, they can email, they can go to our website, they can download our free app on the iPhone as well as the Android phone. And, you know, what we're finding, the whole reason that we put this program together is that 81% of the time, when something bad is going to happen at school, somebody else knows about it. But there's two reasons why people won't say anything. Number one, they're afraid. Or number two, they think somebody else is going to say something. So we want to make sure that our kids are taking that initiative and letting us know. And I can tell you, since we put this program in place, they have. It's been extremely successful. Now, these are some of the, you know, and actually you have a flyer too there about okay to say, but these are some of the tips that we receive, unfortunately. Bullying and cyberbullying is probably, that's actually half of the tips that we receive every year. But they can talk about, you know, suicide threats, school attacks, gang activity, drug trafficking, you know, child abuse, you name it. They call us about it. All right. Now, okay to say is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. It's monitored by the Michigan State Police. And depending on the time of day that they contact okay to say, they may actually be talking to a Michigan State Police officer. If they're not talking to an officer, they're talking to an agent who has been trained for months to manage their calls. Now, like I said, you can call, you can text, you can email, you go to our website. But what happens, just to kind of explain what happens, when someone calls or texts or whatever and lets us know about maybe a bullying or a cyberbullying incident that isn't getting taken care of, what would happen is that information would confidentially go to a school official, all right, which could be a principal or a counselor, depends on the school, how they want it set up. And then they would have like 3 days to actually respond back to us. They get a report, and they have to respond back to us and let us know exactly what they're doing about it. You know, were the parents contacted? You know, is it still ongoing? What's happening? Now, let's say, though, that someone contacted us about a school threat, and we've unfortunately had many of those. And typically what would happen with that is that information would go to a school official as well as to local law enforcement. We do unfortunately have to contact the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services as well sometimes, you know, for child abuse and that type of thing. But the whole beauty of okay to say is that the information is kept confidential. That's actually guaranteed by law. All right? There's actually a bill that was put into place that makes sure that we don't share that information with anyone else. There's a few situations where we might have to, like if there's a court order and things like that, but typically we're not going to share that information. But what we're finding, we put the program into place in September of last year. We've actually received over 2,500 tips. And like I said, half of those have actually been bullying or cyberbullying incidents. 470 of those were actually suicide threats. 41 were actually threats against schools, and that wasn't just high schools. And then we have 4 major high school fights that we were able to stop before they happened. We actually even stopped an active shooter. So there are, you know, it has been extremely successful because the students are paying attention and telling someone. Now, basically, that is everything that I wanted to cover today. And hopefully I have given you some tools, basic tools that I think we all need to remember, to make sure that we're keeping those lines of communication open, asking good questions, being involved, knowing what your kids are doing, checking those privacy settings, just paying attention. If you're allowing your kids to be on social media, make sure that you know what's going on. Because when I'm talking about a predator targeting your kids, the minimum age for social media is actually 13. So if your kids already have social media, they are a target. Whether they're 11 or 9 or whatever, they are a target already. So we want to make sure that you all realize that. Okay? Now, are there any questions? I know I kind of, I try to make sure I get it done in that hour so that if I have somebody that leaves, they can do that. But are there any questions about anything that I talked about today? I mean, I know it was a lot of information, so. No? All right. Yes, it depends. Like next week I actually see all of Oxford schools, and I go to every single school every single year. And they even have a community seminar. They're having it on Tuesday night at their school. I see all of Avondale schools. There's 30 people that do what I do every single day across the state of Michigan. So like people have said to me, well, did Clarkston have their presentations yet? And I don't know if they did this year. I know they have in the past, but I don't know if they did have them yet this school year. So, because we have like 4 people in this general area that would cover it. So, to my knowledge, they didn't, but they might have. So, but is everyone from Clarkston, or are there other school districts that are here? Anybody? Okay, so it looks like everybody's from Clarkston. Okay. Did anybody have questions though about like any of the apps that are on the list? Because we've had, I don't know if you guys saw those, like it's kind of where our kids are going to after Facebook. And the ones that, we've kind of had some immediate concerns with is actually the Kick app, the texting app. Now you guys probably heard about that 13-year-old that was actually left her house to meet up with this 18-year-old from Virginia Tech, and she was actually, killed. So we want to make sure, that the problem with Kick is it can be anonymous, so on who you're talking to, and so a lot of times kids think they're maybe talking to a friend or whatever. We had a situation last year actually in Rochester where a girl thought she was talking to her friend, and this person started asking questions that her friend wouldn't normally ask. So fortunately she went to her mom, and her mom took it to local law enforcement, and they went through her phone, and there were 30 kids that this predator had actually been contacting. And I actually have a teacher in Utica schools that had the same situation. She had to actually have the FBI knock on her door. She had no idea what had even gone on. And her daughter had like blocked this guy that kept trying to contact her, but they needed her phone to get additional information. So, it's, and that wasn't in, I don't think that was in, no, that was Kick too. So it was actually Kick. But it's not the only place that's bad. Ask FM is actually pretty serious. That's there. It's very anonymous as well. People can say mean things and hurtful things, and that's not a, that one's a little tough. If we could pull that one down, we'd do that. But unfortunately, yeah, takes a while. Right. Right. Absolutely. And what I usually, because there's a lot of kids that do use Kick, but what you kind of want to make sure, like we even tell them when we're talking with them, if they think they're talking to a friend and that friend starts asking questions or saying things they wouldn't normally say, that little red flag needs to come up, and you have to say, you know what, this isn't who I thought it was. I need to show it to a trusted adult. We want to make sure they show it to a trusted adult, because a lot of times kids will just block them or whatever, and we kind of want to make sure you know about it. Because this mom, this Utica teacher, didn't know anything about it. She blocked this guy, which is great, but then the FBI came knocking on her door, and she was freaking out, She had no idea, but at least she was safe. But, yeah. Yes? That's okay. I mean, if you just block it or you delete it or whatever. But, sometimes if they continue, like if you've blocked them and they keep coming back another way, like they're getting around it and they're, you know what I mean, then you need to tell somebody about it. But typically if you just block them, that's fine. But I want them to show a trusted adult is what I always say to them, because you kind of need to know about it. Because there are some kids that will just keep blocking it and blocking it. And they might have 10 people that have tried to contact them. And I want their parents to know, so they know what to do. But I think a lot of times kids don't want to say anything because they don't want to get their phone taken away or whatever, So that's, kind of the problem. But we always tell them to talk to a trusted adult first. So, yeah. Oh, she had 2, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, so she's talking about like, actually, are you talking about like a service through Verizon or is it like software, or because there's a couple different things you can do? Okay. Net nanny. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Yes, and actually they do work pretty well. I mean, sometimes kids find their way around them. I don't know if you guys were able to hear the whole question. Maybe I should just pass off the mic, next time to make sure. But she's basically asking about like software and that type of thing. Like, is it effective? And yeah, they work pretty well. Actually, what I did is, because we can't really like endorse, I can't like recommend certain things and stuff like that. Like Rethink, I was able to do. That wasn't my decision. It was the big guy, so I can do that. But like other things I can't really say. But if you Google it, and I actually have a whole list of different software that you can use, and it's really not that expensive. That actually will kind of monitor. There's even one though that I thought, and I'm going to say personally, okay, I can't say for the Attorney General's office, but there's one that's called Truth Locker. And actually, this one, it's very effective if your child is being bullied in social media. Because what it does is it will actually track everything that your kids are doing in social media. I think there's one, maybe Instagram, there's one social media account that it won't track. But it will track like Twitter and Facebook. And what's really nice about it is it's free, and the only time you have to use it is if you want to see a page, you want to print something on Facebook or whatever. But what it will do is it will show everything, every comment that your kid made or that was made on their wall or whatever, and it can't be altered. So if somebody changes it later, how kids will delete it or whatever, it's still there. And there's actually students that have used this as evidence in a court of law for bullying situations and cyberbullying. So it's really, really useful. But if you look at even in, like the App Store and, Google Play, stuff like that, they have some really cool apps out there, that track stuff like that. And some of them are free. So, but yeah, the software is a really good thing too. So there's lots of things that you can use to help keep your kids safe. Absolutely. So, all right. Yes. Right. Yes. And you can actually do that on Snapchat as well. Even if you physically delete a picture, on your phone, it is still permanently saved in Snapchat. It's buried. It'll take a couple hours to get off there, but you can get it off. It's buried in there. You can find it, and Snapchat owns those pictures, right? And that's what we tell the students, because it's not a safe way to share inappropriate pictures and stuff like that. So yes, but it's buried. It's still there. It's all part of that public digital footprint in that iCloud and all that. There's lots of ways that we can access, information. So, okay. Anything else? No? All right. Okay. Well, like we talked about too, there was a community seminar feedback form. I don't know if I know you had one as well for this organization as well. So I'm going to let you finish up here, and I'm pretty much done on my end. So.
How about a big hand for Lori? Thank you for coming out. It's awesome. I've got 4 young kids. My oldest is 6. And I go to these presentations and I think, holy cow, I am scared half to death. But the nice thing about Clarkson is we have a great community. And the community's here. That's why we're here. That's why this organization's here. Somebody had mentioned earlier about what to do with certain messages. We have 2 police liaison officers that are paid for by combination Independence Township and Clarkson Community Schools. If you think it's that important, call them. They'll come out. They'll talk to you. We are not understaffed in Clarkson. Not that we're overstaffed. Not that they are sitting around at McDonald's with nothing to do. But kids are a priority. And the sheriff's department, Independence Township, and Springfield Township take those situations very seriously. So If you think it might be a situation that needs an officer, call. I think that about wraps it up. I appreciate you coming out. If you can spread the word about youth assistance, that would be great. We are trying to do more community ed pieces. If you have something that you think might be effective or needed in the community, feel free to let us know. We have a feedback form out on the table. We'd love to hear how we did, what we could have done better, how we could maybe engage more of the community. And as always, we are looking for volunteers. If anyone, as much or as little as you'd like to volunteer, we'll take. If it's an hour, maybe you could have stopped by and helped us set up today, or for example, or other stuff. And that concludes our evening. Thanks again for coming out.